You're live.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody out there?
Good.
Up in La La Land? Welcome to another Sunday morning adult Lyceum program. As you probably know by now, every Sunday morning from 9:30 to sometime after 10 o'clock or so, we will have another teacher talking to us about something interesting to us as spiritualists. So before I bring up our teacher for today, I want to talk about the upcoming roster of teachers. Next week, I will be your teacher. Then we're going to June 7th, Pauline Gold. On June 14th, Marie Gates. And the 21st is Father's Day. And I'm planning on being the teacher for that day because it's a very special day for me relative to being here in Casadega. And on June 28th, Dr. Jerry Christa. I particularly like when we have Joy Sagar as our teacher. For one thing, he's always available to me, to us. Unless he's out of town or something, he's Johnny on the spot for us. And when he talks, people listen because he's got something good to say. As a matter of fact, you ought to take notes. This is a class. And when he talks, you want to take those notes. Joy's been involved in Casadega now for a number of years. A certified medium and healer, and a wonderful teacher. So let's bring up Joy Sagar. It's all yours, my friend.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to see you here in person and those that are live audience on the virtual world. Just a little bit of sharing. The topic for today is automatic writing. And as I was contemplating on how to approach that, I will try to keep it as chronologically as possible. However, as I was investigating and looking into the information, how and where it started, it is relatively unknown when automatic writing really started. But there are several very generous examples that we will talk about. So, what is automatic writing? Automatic writing, which is also called as psychography, is claimed psychic ability allowing a person to produce written words without consciously writing. The words purportedly arise from a subconscious, spiritual, or supernatural sources. The information that is I'm presenting is compiled from different sources. So why automatic writing becomes such an important ingredient? Well, before we go into the length of the conversation, I would like to share a story why my own interest in automatic writing heightened when I came into the spiritualist journey and spiritualist learning and awareness when I found the subject. There's a personal story that resides in the back of my own home. I used to have a family member that was known to have been writing, and that was something that is out of the ordinary, but to my experience, as I reflect on it, that was a beautiful journey. So when I came into the spiritualist journey, I was like, oh, I know what this is. I can understand what this is about. It would be wonderful to explore. Fortunately, as you would know, Casadega and our organization is quite vested in educational processes through Lyceum, like in the morning and workshops, etc. So my journey of many years had me exposed to several opportunities of learning automatic writing through various teachers as they come and serve our community and facilitate the educational process. So as we go into the depth of the automatic writing first became popular during the golden age of spiritualism, late 19th and early 20th centuries, by mediums attempting to contact the spirit world, similar to some forms of supernatural or spiritual processes. Automatic writing was much quicker and more efficient than communication through raps and knocks. I will take a moment of pause because the advent of modern day spiritualism, when it started, it was the Fox sisters and the Fox family discovering their alphabet through raps and knockings, and one alphabet at a time, they were able to decipher the spirit that was influencing those raps and sounds in their homes. And over time, as you would understand, what tedious process because they had to discover the story one alphabet at a time. Curiosity, play is all at place, but it is a length of time. It does require patience, it does require consistent commitment there. However, when we talk about automatic writing, it has evolved through those basic processes because as we grew in spirit, as the humans grew with the spirit contact or their ability of their psychic faculties and their intuitive faculties, they found that it was much easier to be in the flow of writing. So as we talk a little bit more, we'll discover what it evolves into. Such spirit-guided writing was initially produced through a use of pencil attached to a basket or planchet. Or in a rough way, if you would understand what a Ouija board is. So you would have a writing instrument attached to something neutral, and you ask the spirit to influence that writing. This type of automatic writing was often very difficult to decipher because the motions were not consistent and the writing was difficult to read. And thus, the mediums and the practitioners started to practice holding pen in their hands, pen or pencil, and just would copy the gesture of writing, just like we would write. And the whole idea was to let the spirit control your faculty or your limb and let them utilize it completely separate from that individual's human consciousness. So later, as time progresses, we found that our subconscious mind that we know as a human that defines us as a personality was stepping out, and the flow of the writing was going on a little bit more strongly. As modern day evolved, there were other writing instruments that were attributed to capture the same form of automatic writing. So the modern day world has brought in typewriters, keyboards for computers, etc. So that is there as time has evolved. Our instrumentation has evolved as well. So according to the spiritualist belief, the mediums would channel the spirit or ask a spirit to control their physical bodies, allowing it to guide the pencil or planchet, thereby producing a message that the spirit wanted to communicate to the world of living. This can also be partially shared with what we understand as a form of channeling, but allowing our appendage to be used as a writing mechanism. Channeling allowed the spirit to utilize the medium's body to communicate, a practice that is differentiated from spiritual possession because this is a partnering between a human body and spirit body, or the spirit world, or the spirit itself, to have an organized thought or an organized way of understanding what is being given at that time. Channeling, however, is a voluntary action freely undertaken to facilitate communication, while the spirit taking over in form of what we have deciphered as possession is involuntary. So to differentiate that. So chronological timeline. The first and most profound time in the historical timeline with automatic writing comes from William Staten Moses. He was born in England in 1839. He was a well-educated person and an ordained minister in the Church of England. He became interested in spiritualism. As most of us walk into this experience as skeptic, he was also a skeptic. Moses initially started investigating seance and soon found himself drawn to automatic writing. And I feel everybody that is present in the room and perhaps those are that in the virtual audience would understand, our journey with spiritualism always start with, is this true or not? How do we understand this? So William Moses also started his journey like that. His best known for the automatic writings found in his book called Spirit Teachings, initially published in 1883, and Spirit Identity, published in 1879. His writings, of which even he was sometimes skeptical, eventually led him away from the more dogmatic ideas of Anglican Church and strongly towards spiritualism. He believed that his writings originated from higher spirits and were intended for good. He later helped found the Society of Psychical Research. So, understanding a journey of a skeptic towards spiritualism or his own exploration is bringing about a beautiful two documented writings. If you have access, please find them interesting. I have only been able to find excerpts on the internet, but they are definitely written in a very different language, so it's very interesting to read those. The next person in the chronological order is Thomas J. Hudson. He's an American. Thomas J. Hudson was a chief examiner of the U.S. Patent Office and a psychical researcher, known for his 3 laws of psychic phenomena, which were first published in 1893. Hudson's 3 laws were: man has 2 minds, the objective mind, which is also called the conscious mind, and the subjective mind, which is also called the subconscious mind. The second law was the subjective mind is constantly amenable to control by suggestion. And the third law was the subjective mind is incapable of inductive reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
So as I look at these laws, it gives me great comfort to say, sometimes there's no explanation to a lot of things, but it happens just as a natural course of happening. Another one who was best known for automatic writing was Helene Smith, who used the pseudonym of Catherine Elise Mueller, a medium that was born around in 1863 in Geneva, Switzerland. Smith never worked as a paid medium, but she held numerous seances for friends and admirers. In addition to claims of past lives, her own past lives as Hindu princess and also as Marie Antoinette, Smith produced automatic writing in different languages, very profoundly in Arabic, and she claimed were the languages of Mars and Uranus as well. Those 2 languages that she has brought forward as her automatic writing, she later on translated into French. Theodore Flournoy, a professor of psychology at the University of Geneva, studied Smith's mediumistic abilities and determined that the so-called Martian alphabet was simply the subconscious construction of an imaginative woman. However, there were other investigators who supported the claim that Ms. Smith's alphabet was indeed extraterrestrial. Smith was a popular figure for surrealists in the early 20th century. So the beautiful part for us spiritualist mediums, especially the pioneers in the beginning evolution of this religion or profoundness of this religion, has always find that this is the heaviest it has always been to be investigated. We are profoundly known to be investigated by skeptics, scientists that are wanting to have a scientific measurement of how things work. Thus, we are always finding critics. No matter what we're evolving into, we have always been embraced by critics. They love us. And here we are. The most profound documented automatic writer is a Brazilian medium, Francisco Chico Xavier, or Javier, born in 1910. He was one of the most prolific automatic writers in the history. He has produced about 100,000 pages of work. It doesn't say a book or writings, but they are pages, as I would imagine automatic writing has just scripting, not a formulated theme. Xavier began his automatic writing in primary school, as he claims. He won an essay contest, and with that being said, he claimed that his essay was given from spirit. So that was his initial embracement of automatic writing. Though he never continued his education, Xavier produced books of scientific and literary quality that appeared to be beyond his abilities. Another small documented proof of how we can benefit from the intelligence from the spirit world. He was a popular figure in Brazil, appearing on talk shows in the 1960s and 1970s, and donated the income from his books and any donations he received to charity. Xavier never made an attempt to produce any scientific proof of his abilities. His supporters claim that the size of his body of work, the diverse subject matter, and different styles are evidence enough of Xavier's authenticity. So far, we are coming now into the early 1900s, and as we are progressing into it, we perhaps would recognize more familiar names than the last three names. So as we come into the early 1900s, the next name that is profoundly connected with automatic writing and spiritualism in its way is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He is from Scotland and England area. And in spiritualism, spirits are claimed to control the hand, as we discussed earlier in our conversation, to write messages, letters, and to even write the entire books. Automatic writing can happen in a trance state or an awakened state. It depends on the medium, how they are controlled by the spirit world. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, in his book, The New Revelation in 1918, wrote that automatic writing occurs either by the writer's subconscious or by external spirits operating through the writer. Once again, opens a lot of debatable processes, which one is the right way. And the only way is to discern is understanding where the intellectual acumen of the medium or the human person is. And that's where I feel is a lot of discernment comes into play. The next famous name, I'm sure you would have heard of somebody called Neil Donald Walsh. He is an American-born individual. He's also an actor, screenwriter, and a speaker. He was born on September 10 in 1943, and he has very profoundly written what we understand as Conversations with God. It's a set of 4 books, and there are a compiled version of his Dialogue from God, which is, once again, in his language, is a profound accumulation of automatic writing in his version of what he's giving us. So, the last but not the least of the most profound names for automatic writing. How many of us know about A Course in Miracles? I'm sure most of us that are any type of spiritual pursuit would understand A Course in Miracles. And those that are in the Christian world would also understand A Course in Miracles. So A Course in Miracles was scribed by Dr. Schumann between 1965 and 1972 through a process of inner dictation. She experienced the process as one of a distinct and clear dictation from an inner voice, which earlier had identified itself to Dr. Schumann as Jesus. She profoundly states in her writing of Course in Miracles. This is a Course in Miracles. Please take notes. So as we are looking into these famous names, personalities, we are looking at this because they have allowed themselves to be out there in front of us to be presented. They believed in what they did, what they were receiving was something bigger and more than that. So us, those who consider ourselves as average human person, I have a news for you. We are not. Each and every one of us are very extraordinary in our own way, and we have our own special way to connecting to the spirit world. So as you would understand, these individuals have taken automatic writing into a whole different subset, whole different direction. But what is profound? What is profound for me is how the automatic writing has evolved from the 1800s coming up into this time period. Once again, it's still automatic. You have to surrender. You have to build trust with the spirit world. You have to allow yourself to get connected or allow control or spirit and individual to come and participate with you in writing. So, as I offer classes on the subject through whenever the opportunity is there, these messages or these writings cannot just be from something very profound. It could be as simple as your own awareness of writing something that belongs within your own family, within your own family members and your loved ones. They have the ability to give us a word, a phrase that is very unique in their vocabulary to understand. But the discernment is how do we separate our human consciousness and allow ourselves to go into the intelligence of the spirit world. Because that's where the persuasion comes in to sit and work with them and blend with the spirit world and make them a part of our daily routines so that they become a second nature. They become a part of our life. So up until this age, I'm sure all of us that are seated in this room have picked up nuances and habits, and now they are our second nature. You know, how many times do you even recognize that you brush off your nose or you comb your hair just involuntarily? It has become a second nature. So imagine those individuals that have led this beautiful pathway and opportunity of understanding. Their works are quite profound. Their writings are quite profound. Not everything they have done is automatic writing, but they have given us a small exposure to what the possibilities are. Now, I will say with all sincerity, including myself, that in this time, not all of us are dedicating ourselves the way they did. We have definitely found many ways of distracting ourselves to keep our mind muted and busy into something that is not challenging to push ourselves to the next level. But I think that's where the beauty for me is in spiritualism is that it has so many facets that speak to us at our own level. You know, we have so many ways to communicate and connect with the higher consciousness, the intelligence of the spirit world, where we don't understand how this is happening, but there could be one way that works for somebody, another way that works for somebody. We have to just learn to dedicate and commit ourselves to grow into that part of the process. So through the timeline of history, how is automatic writing being discerned in this time period? So often we say if you are aware and exposed to how it works, you will have to understand this can be very open-ended. You sit there committing to the spirit world, dedicating that time, allowing your body to be an instrument or a medium for them to control what they would like to produce, just very much in the flow, like a free flow writing, but through the essence of the spirit world. Just let it flow. And then upon the finish, then you can go back and review what came forward. So there has been so many examples through me sitting in the classes, through other students, colleagues, etc. Not everything in that free flow writing may tie in into one thing, but perhaps there is just phrases that would come out that would make more sense than anything else. Often there would be writing that is not legible enough to decipher what exactly is being said, but there will definitely be some words and phrases that are empowering to us, to what is coming forward. The other form of automatic writing is setting up a theme, a question in your mind, and sit with an intent to receive an answer or response for that. A lot of times our former teachers and visiting teachers have encouraged to have a theme. What is happening in global economy coming forward, or what is happening on a certain agenda of interest to an individual, and see how the guidance, how the intelligence bring that information forward. A lot of, in the modern day time, as I'm paying attention here, there has been a lot of writings on medical intuition. We are very profoundly blessed with a medical medium that has given valuable information. Once again, this is a form of channeling and using that channel information into writing, which is slightly different than automatic writing, but it is still a channel way of receiving a theme or a topic, and then you go seeking that information. A lot of others have found involuntary spirit drawing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we do doodling while we're on the phone, and then we realize we just made up a face, or we made up a scenery, something that is formed. Now, the beauty for this is writing alphabet. But to understand, in one of our examples, somebody didn't even pay attention to going to school. How were they able to produce a formalized thought or an intelligent thought that was definitely, literally applauded in that time period? But the drawing is as simple, because then you are letting the hand do what it's doing. And perhaps that would be a good starting point. When you build your connection with the spirit world, to let that hand be in their control and just go with the flow. So to understand that there are different ways of approaching that. So if you ever come across as a class, no matter where you are, where you're coming from, if there's somebody that offers you, this is well worth the excitement of discovery and opportunity to understand where this can lead you to. So once again, why do we do automatic writing? You know, at the end of the day, everybody has to understand why. So many ways of understanding why automatic writing. Automatic writing, even, let's just bring it down a notch. If this is not completely coming from the spirit world, could it be coming through your own higher consciousness, through your own higher mind? May not be necessarily from the higher spirit individuals on the spirit side, but could it be our soul or higher side that can give us this writing? So that amount of automatic writing can be received for guidance. There's something we need to understand, something we need to do, and then we take that guidance, we see how we apply in our lives, and see what the benefit is. Now, we have also seen a different version of automatic writing, which is now termed as journaling. But that is more with a conscious mind, right? You're using your mind, using your thought to journal what's going on, what is passing on that need to be addressed. And we are seeing that part of the process to be quite therapeutic in nature. It allows the inside emotions to be expelled, something to be sorted out, something to be looked into and investigated, what life is allowing us to explore. So it definitely has a sense of therapeutic value connected to automatic writing, new, more conscious level of writing, journaling. Now, the best and the beautiful part is an increased connection with yourself, because it'll take you in a sense of self-awareness, because we need to be aware where we are to become a better instrument for the spirit world. It also enhances our connection with spirit world, because to do this specific segment, you have to dedicate to put the trust and release any sort of controls or anything that is there that is holding you back, to release all that. So it is definitely a two-phase things, where it is allowing you connection with the spirit world and also connection with our own selves. So it is definitely very, very beneficial when it comes to making a contact in the spirit world. In the least bit, in the very least bit, you would say automatic writing, and I'm opening this, automatic writing and any other form of activity that allows you to explore your own gifts, your own abilities, your own intuitiveness, your own sensitivities can be fun. And they're always creative. They're always creative, especially if you're in a very nice, safe, nurturing, learning environment. There's always there something to wonder, something more to discover within our own selves. So that being said, that is something what I have discovered over my 16 years of being a spiritualist. There's so many facets to our religion, our understanding. It is not just the mediumship, it's not just the healing. There's so many unspoken areas that I feel we all can benefit to learn and experiment, see where we go with that. Maybe that is the strongest suit we would have at this point, not realizing that we are predisposed to something like that. But I understand automatic writing through my own experiences has been quite helpful. Often it has brought out something that I needed to look into myself for my own sense of growth and awareness, something that was subconsciously stashed away, and I'm not willing to choose to voluntarily look at it and understand where it's taking me. But at the same time, the good way of this journey of understanding is to start somewhere. So since this is a Lyceum, there are different teachers, there are different educational material that is available online and through teachers that offer classes here in the camp. So if you're ever close to an activity like this, please explore your own essence through your own automatic writing. Any questions?
I'm glad you brought up about the automatic drawing. I was going to ask that, and you brought it up. Many years ago, I was sitting in my living room, and I was drawn to go upstairs to my office. I can't draw. Okay. I drew a face and profile. I thought I was a spirit guide. Well, I don't know. I showed it to Jeanette, my wife. She said, "Why are you drawing pictures of Ken?" So who's Ken? Somebody she knew years ago. She showed me a photograph of him, and somehow he came through in my drawing. Perfect example.
Thank you for sharing that. And from my own journey, mingling in other communities outside of Florida, outside of the country, I do have been blessed to know several spirit artists that some are trained in arts, some are not. But they definitely have this uncanny but a very awesome ability to draw spirit portraiture, animals, pets, human form, etc. So there is definitely that side too, that automatic version of spirit communication is there. Any other questions anybody has? Well, wonderful. So we'll do this just one for the next couple of minutes. So how do we do automatic writing? You have to have a safe environment where you know that you have privacy, there's no interruptions, there's no disturbance, because you will have to take yourself in a deep meditative state at some point, to allowing that stillness to get to that point in place where you raise your vibration to meet the vibration of the spirit world, right? So you have to have the safety of the environment. Of course, you will have to have a chalkboard, a dry erase board, a pencil, paper, some sort of a medium that captures your automatic writing. There have been two different ways of writing. You can suspend your hand in the air and let the pen do the writing, or you can have a little roll of towel or a ruler that doesn't allow you to really move your hand, or it doesn't inhibit movement of your hand both ways, so that when your pen moves, it has the ability to go where it needs to go. So you give yourself a considerable, generous amount of time to sit, and like we all say in our works, is sitting regularly and consistently builds that language of the muscle of communication with the spirit world, or those that are wanting to choose to work with us. And then when you see the pieces, I was very happy to get a word or an alphabet, which I knew was not under my own mind's control, that I wrote it. And this is where the discernment comes. You would know when you are wanting to move the hand, when the spirit is wanting to move the hand. It's two different feelings. And that is only be experienced once you start to play with it, work with it, and see how they build their connection with you. So please explore different possibilities that lay within spiritualism for not only just your personal growth, but your growth with the spirit world and thereafter. And thank you for being here. Thank you.
Speaking of writing, I hope you took notes because what he has to say was very good. Thank you. Good job. But also speaking of writing, Joy's the secretary of our board of trustees, so he does a lot of writing right there too. So I thank you for your kind attention, you folks out here. Thank you for being here, and everybody out watching the live stream. I thank Louis, our pastor, for setting this up. And I'm going to turn it over to Louis because he's going to run the church service in a few moments. Thank you. Have a good day. And a good Memorial Day.
Thank you. We're going to turn this off, and then we'll be back up again here in a few minutes for the church service.